Conservative New Media viewers, Charlotte Hornets fans around the world, JLin fans around the world. What's up? It's me, PFA Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. We're here to discuss the Charlotte Hornets' 114-94 defeat tonight to the San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio, Texas. Spurs improved to 4-2. Hornets dropped to 2-4, and they have their two-game winning streak snapped. Let's go through the stats quickly. Spurs were led by Kawhi Leonard, 23 points, LaMarcus Aldridge, 16 points, Tim Duncan, 11 points, 8 rebounds, Patty Mills, 15 points off the bench, Manu Ginobili, 13 points off the bench. Hornets got 27 points from Kemba Walker. He really played great tonight, 13 points and 7 rebounds from Al Jefferson, 10 points from Nicholas Batum. JLin off the bench, 12 points. Jeremy played 22 minutes, shot 4 of 10 from the field, including 1 of 4 from three-point range, 3 of 6 from the free throw line, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls. His plus-minus was a minus 37. And I actually didn't do Jeremy's efficiency number at the end. The fourth quarter was statistically his best quarter. And just in a quick overview, I thought Jeremy, he didn't have a great night, but he played hard. I thought we talked about confidence last game. I didn't think there was any confidence issues in this game at all. Jeremy had shots and he stepped up and he took them. I still think that his jump shot form is a work in progress. It still has to kind of solidify a little bit. And I thought his form was a little off tonight, but other than that, I thought he played pretty well tonight. And it's funny because the last game was a win. This game was a 20-point loss. There's a lot of people that are dejected tonight that are JLin fans. I know because they've reached out to me on Twitter. I actually feel pretty good about this game, and I feel pretty good about JLin. The reason why I'm okay with this game is because it points out what Charlotte has to work on. And I'm not going to go through all the statistics here right now. I haven't even looked at them for myself. Charlotte lost this game. This game was like dead even. Actually, Charlotte was ahead by 6 points midway through the third. And then the Spurs just crushed them for the next 12 minutes or so of the game. What happened was the Spurs turned up their defense. And the Hornets' second unit, it wasn't just their second unit, but a lot of it was their second unit. The Hornets' second unit isn't disciplined and they don't have enough chemistry yet to stay up with the Spurs. The Spurs added 2 primary players this offseason, David West and LaMarcus Aldridge. Of course, the most important of those 2 being LaMarcus Aldridge. So they have 2 new primary players. Charlotte has maybe 5 or 6. The Spurs know exactly what they want to do, and they know exactly how to do it. And guys know where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there, etc. Now, again, Aldridge and West are still learning that. Aldridge actually sat out some part of this game because he was in foul trouble, and West is a more minor figure. Okay, so all the rest of the Spurs are in sync. They really snap. They're just. It's like watching a military drill. It's very precise. And so the Hornets are going to learn from this. The Hornets, if they didn't have that mega drought, they could have won this game, or it certainly could have been a lot closer. So you need to go through games like this to improve, because you might think you're doing great, and then you meet a team that's really great, or you see a second unit that's really good. And so I'm okay with this. This was very likely to be a loss coming into this game. And it doesn't matter if you lose by 1 point or 50 points. So honestly, if you're going to lose, I prefer that the team lose by a lot, because then they're going to be a lot more attentive to film sessions and things afterwards. And I think seeing the team, watching how the Spurs do what they do and how disciplined they are, I think that's going to help the team. I think that's particularly going to help the second unit when they go through and look at this in film session or sessions to come. So I'm okay with that. Again, but back to Jeremy. I thought in the last two games there were moments where he was a little jittery or something like that. He didn't look like that tonight. I thought he played well. He just missed some shots. And that's why I've said, and we'll repeat, keep working on your jump shot. And look, he's done a tremendous amount of work on his shot. It's the new form, the minor adjustments that he's made to his form. It's going to take time for that to last. It's much easier to shoot a certain way or to feel comfortable with it when you're shooting by yourself or when you're shooting in the preseason and it's not high-intensity defensive pressure. Tonight, when the Spurs went on the run, the pressure was through the roof. And even some of the other shots that Jeremy took earlier in the game, they were contested shots. So these are not wide-open shots like Jeremy was missing against the Bulls or against maybe the Hawks. These were challenging shots. So, okay, just continue to work on your jump shot. Continue to work on your jump shot under pressure. Go over and over that form until it's just better and better. Because tonight the shot looked a little bit broke. Okay, and that's the kind of a term used for a shot when it just looks way off. But again, Jeremy was under a heavy amount of defensive pressure. And that's what the Spurs do. That's why they're much better than most teams. That's the overall synopsis here. Spurs super synchronicity. They turn up the defensive pressure, and they're a well-oiled machine on offense, and that's what we got to see midway through the third quarter into about midway through the fourth quarter. JLin thought he played totally fine. Jump shot looks a little bit off, and that's not unexpected. Also not unexpected is that the Hornets' second unit isn't ready for prime time. If you look through, I said Jeremy was a minus 37 and plus minus. Cody Zeller, minus 38. Spencer Hawes, minus 28. Jeremy Lamb, minus 29. That's the reason why the Hornets lost this game, was because their second unit just couldn't get it done. That's not Jeremy's fault. So like I said, you can have... I really spent a lot of time talking about in the Game 4 or the Game 5 video how even though the team won, I still wasn't really all the way thrilled with how Jeremy played. Well, tonight's like the opposite. I felt pretty good about how Jeremy played, even though the team didn't play that well, even though the team got blown out in the end of the game. Jeremy competed until the final buzzer of the game. He never let up when he came back in, and it was kind of garbage time. He played hard, he played defense, and he kept going. That's the way you set championship habits. Okay, it's the end of the game. Everybody's just going to goof around. Well, you play hard, even if they're goofing around. And you're not just doing it to pad your stats. You're doing it to get your mind used to that, so that when you can play like that all the time. So my hat's off to Jeremy in terms of how he played tonight. I thought he played great, and he stuck with it on defense. They ran Patty Mills off some different screens to get him freed, and he got some three-pointers against Jeremy, but Jeremy played good defense. And later on in this game, and I said this on Twitter, they had JLin guard Kyle Anderson of the Spurs. Anderson is a small forward. So this is the second time this season that we've seen Coach Clifford have JLin guard a small forward. The other time was against the Bulls, and Clifford had JLin guard Doug McDermott. So some people might say that's being done because Jeremy's not super quick. maybe, but also what it says is that Jeremy's strong enough to guard small forwards. He's physically strong enough. We said Jeremy is a very strong guy. He trains extremely hard with weights, and he's got the strength to be able to do it. He's not going to get overpowered by those guys. And so that was interesting. I mean, it was meaningless to the outcome of the game, but it was still interesting to see. Basically, the lineup was Brian Roberts, Troy Daniels, and JLin. And so in that lineup, JLin was playing the small forward, even though he's probably a better playmaker. He is a better playmaker than Brian Roberts or Troy Daniels is. The 2 turnovers Jeremy had, one I thought was bogus. One was an offensive foul where Jeremy lost the dribble, or the dribble was poked away from him or something, and then he and Patty Mills were going for the ball, and they said that JLin pushed off of Patty Mills. I just was like, from the angle I had, it didn't look like it. It just looked like a silly call. The second turnover was one of the plays where Jeremy drives by his man, and then the guy reaches around and pokes it away from him. This is like something you see in high school basketball. We've talked about this before. Jeremy knows what it is. The key there is keep your dribble low. When you get past your man, keep your dribble low so that he can't do that. The play happens. You see it in games all the time, including at the NBA level. Jeremy has to be disciplined about it, but not a big deal. Not a huge deal at all. That's kind of the overview of what happened here. What I'm most focused on right now is the upcoming games, the schedule that's coming up, because that's where the Hornets need to win some games. And I'll talk about it here in just a second. Most people figured this was going to be a defeat. And look, the Hornets are still 2-4. They're okay. Now I want to focus on trying to get back to even record, 500, 4-4. The 2 losses to the Atlanta Hawks look pretty good right now, because Atlanta's 7-1, and they have one of the best records in the NBA currently. In fact, it's the best record in the Eastern Conference. So Atlanta's very good, and we know Charlotte can hang with them. And Charlotte's capable of hanging with San Antonio. They just kind of lost it in that middle portion. And they're playing in San Antonio. And the second unit will have more continuity 3 months from now than they do now. So there were a lot of positives in this game. A lot of positives. And the more that you can't fix something until you have it happen. This is probably the worst opponent's run that Charlotte has dealt with all season. Okay, it happened. Let's go check the film. Let's see where the corrections can be made. Let's fix it. This team is smart. They will look at that, and this team they have character. They're not weak mentally. They're not quitters, and they're intelligent. They're workers. So I expect them to get better from this, and I would much rather have this happen against the San Antonio in November than have it happen against the Knicks in March, when it might be more important for a playoff spot chance. So if we're going to do this, let's do it now. It's not unexpected. The majority of what this comes down to is the inexperienced chemistry of the second unit. They're not ready to deal with a second unit like the Spurs, who has a lot of continuity and a lot of synchronization. And that's where this is. We saw this in other games. Tonight it was just magnified a whole bunch against a precision second unit offense. That's kind of what happened tonight. Now, the next game coming up is 3 days from now. So the team now has 2 days off, and that's good. Get some rest, do some film work, get your body right. Forget about this loss, and let's move on to the next game. Now, the next game coming up is against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota is an improved team. They are an improved team. They beat the Chicago Bulls tonight. I'm not saying that Minnesota's an easy win, because it's not. But they're a lot easier win than San Antonio is. They're a lot easier win than Atlanta is. Minnesota's a young team. They're talented, but they're young, which means they're susceptible to mistakes. And they don't have a ton of chemistry yet, because a lot of them haven't played with one another that long, and they haven't been in the NBA that long. So that's a game, certainly, that if the Hornets lose that game, I'll be a whole lot much more upset than I am about losing to the Spurs in San Antonio. So the next 3 games are the next 2 games, Minnesota and the Knicks. Again, the Knicks are also an improved team. Minnesota is in Minnesota, and then the team flies home, and then the next night, so a back-to-back for the Hornets, is against the Knicks. Those are going to be tough games because of the back-to-back. I don't know what the Knicks' schedule is. I don't know if the Knicks are on a back-to-back themselves. That would make it a lot easier for the team. But you win both of those games, and now you're back at 500 again. Now you've had a very difficult schedule early on, and you're a 500 team. It's like you're starting the season over right fresh, except that's even easier because the East is not as good, though it has improved. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Beat Minnesota and beat the Knicks. If you do that, everything's cool, and this loss is meaningless, basically, or even, again, maybe it's even useful in the end. For the team has to stay cohesive, stay tight. Don't let losses like this divide the locker room or make you start pointing fingers. And they're not going to do that. This is the worst loss of the year from a points perspective, so if it's going to happen, it probably would happen now, but you just don't get the sense from this team that they're going to do that. The coaching staff and the individual players, they just don't have that mentality. I think they all understand and get it enough to know that they can't afford to do that. And look, it's just stupid to do that anyway. Usually that's a sign of, coaching weakness or players who don't want to accept responsibility. This team doesn't seem like it has guys like that, and that's a really good that's a good thing to see, and it's certainly a good sign for the team and for the team's prospects. I'll look at stats really quickly here. I don't think there's anything here that's going to tell any incredible tale. Yeah, the Hornets turned the ball over more than they would have liked to. 15 turnovers for 21 points. Not horrendous, but obviously it didn't help any. Spurs hit 43% of the three-pointers. That was just when they got on the roll, and they just couldn't miss. The Spurs are the Spurs. They're going to do this, and they can do this against anybody. Unfortunately, it happened to the Hornets tonight. One good statistic from this game is that the Spurs only scored 8 fast break points, which means that the Hornets' transition defense continues to improve. It wasn't so hot for the first 4 games of the year. It was good last game, and it was pretty good tonight, particularly when you think that run that the Spurs made, you would have thought they would have gotten a bunch of easy buckets in transition. They really didn't, so that's good to see. Spurs moved the ball incredibly well, as people told me on Twitter. 35 assists out of 45 made field goals. That's truly exceptional. It wasn't the case for the Hornets. They only had 15 assists out of 34 made field goals. I don't think the Hornets were trying to play ISO ball. They just don't. They don't have the rhythm or the sync yet that like a team like the Spurs or the Warriors does. when the Hornets had their runs in this game, they moved the ball great. They were definitely moving the ball. They're just not used to doing it. As I said, not only is the second unit new, the way in which the first unit is playing is different than how they played in the past. So even though 4 out of 5 of the guys are used to playing with one another, the exception being Nick Batum, they're PJ Harrison hasn't been there long, but he's been there. They're playing a different style. They're not playing dump the ball in the post and Kemba ISO. It's more like, well, let's try to move the ball around. And they're not used to it yet. The Spurs system, they've been doing it for years now. They're used to it. It's ingrained into them. Charlotte's just not there yet. But I liked a lot of what I saw tonight. And it's unfortunate what happened, but it's not a real surprise. One other quick stat, Charlotte, 15 assists and 15 turnovers. So 1-to-1 ratio. It's not easy to win when you have a statistic like that. Again, when they beat the I can't remember who it was. When they beat Chicago, I guess maybe it was, the ratio was about 3-to-1. And let me see what it was for the Spurs. Yeah. Spurs, 35 assists, 12 turnovers, 3-to-1. So the statistics tell the tale. But again, I'm disappointed that the team lost. I'm not really surprised, and I'm not down on the team. Not down on the team, and I'm not down on Jeremy. It's just you met a great team tonight on their home court. They have more continuity than you do, and it showed up. It's unfortunate, but it's not completely unexpected. Okay, that's about it for this video. So thumbs up, thumbs down, your comments below. I want to thank Gary Chen for the artwork you're looking at right now. Gary is a blogger and artist in Taiwan. You can learn more about Gary with a link to his Facebook in the video description below the video player. Gary is a member of the JLin Garden fan club. You can learn more about them. There's, I believe, a link for their Facebook as well in the video description. Also, we'll get you highlight information in the video description, so you can go check out highlights of this game. We encourage you to come and join the Conservative Media Facebook group and to come and follow us on Twitter, where we're talking to people throughout this game. Love to have you come and follow us there so we can talk with you. We follow pretty much everybody back. Once again, I am PFE Paul Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative Media. We strive to be the #1 JLin YouTube fan channel. Don't despair. Don't be down. I know there's people that are mad because Jeremy's not getting as many minutes right now. Jeremy Lamb's getting more minutes, or he's getting the important minutes. I'm sure, look, it'd be great if that wasn't the case. A lot of it has to do with how Clifford wants to use the shooting guard position. He wants more height and more defensive presence there. For Jeremy, for Jeremy's development as a player and for his career, look, he's playing behind Kemba Walker, and Charlotte's committed to Kemba, and so if Jeremy is only going to be used, or is going to be used primarily as a point guard, he's not going to get as many minutes, including he's not going to get as many minutes as Jeremy Lamb might get. I wish that wasn't the case, but it's not like a fatal blow. It's what Jeremy has to do in this situation for this season. Make the most out of it, help the team, keep working on your skills, and then maybe next year, it's up to Jeremy, obviously. Maybe you stay in Charlotte in this role. Maybe you go to a team where you start as a point guard, or there isn't a point guard as good as Kemba or whatever. So I just want to think more long-term here. I'm not even worried about that. I want Jeremy to play more minutes, but it's more about his skills and about where his head's at and where his skill set's at. So don't worry about the stuff you can't control. I'm not down about it or any of that. Like I said, I try not to get too caught up in that on a day-to-day or game-to-game basis. Sure, like I said, I mean, I only try to bring things up that I think are issues for Jeremy to work at. If I think his confidence is down, then I'm going to say that, because then you can work on that like you can work on any skill. Tonight, shot looked, he still has to keep working on it. Okay, work on that. But the issues like how many minutes is the coach giving him, you can only do what you can do. When you're out in the game, play as hard as you can, as well as you can, and that's all you can do. But Jeremy can't, it's not under his power. So I'm not going to get like too upset about it or too worked up about it. Just continue to work on his own skill set, and things will go from there. And look, I'm not giving up on this season or anything. So even if Jeremy Lamb is getting more minutes than JLin is right now, or playing down the stretch, that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. Just play your game today and then see what happens 10 games from now. And that's the way I'm looking at it. So I'm just not that concerned about that right now, just personally. So, okay, that's it. I hope you're having a great night, a great day, wherever you are around the world. Take care, and we will talk to you again soon. Certainly, we will be talking to you again on Tuesday as the Hornets face an important showdown in Minnesota. If the Hornets can win that game, they're right back on track. Right back on track. And this game just becomes less and less important. But these next two games, these are the games that the Hornets, they got to win if they're going to make a real push for the playoffs. And like we think that they can. So hopefully let's bring our best effort into Minnesota and try to leave there with a W. Talk to you again soon. Take care.